Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America. I am Dumisani, Washington, your host with the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. I am clicking on things, not because I feel like clicking on things. It's just that I'm trying to actually fix something here. So my apologies. But again, welcome here. This is January the 5th, 2026. So this is the very first forum for 2026. And again, my apologies. I thought I had that on there, but I guess it's doing something its own thing. So welcome, everybody. Come on in. Good to be with you. I don't get the opportunity to host the forum very often, but when I do, I do appreciate it. It's there's so much that's going on. It is usually hosted, and now that we've started again, by my son, who's also the executive director of IBSI, Joshua Washington. You go to ibsi.org and find out more about our organization. And I promise you, I'm not just doodling here. I am trying my best to put something where it's supposed to be, and it's not cooperating with me, but that's okay. I'll take care of that a little bit later on. All right. So again, welcome you all. We got a lot to get into on today. Again, each Monday, we don't say every Monday because we're not ever here every Monday, just because of schedule and travel and all that kind of stuff. But when we are here, it is on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I think it's like something like 3 in the morning for our Israel friends, and for our Central Africa is the same time zone, I believe. So we do have friends who join us from around the world. It's great to have you with us. At some point, we will shift probably the forum to a more, conducive, opportune time, for different time zones and everything. It's more of a habit right here, but we're kind of talking about that. So now, again, this is the beginning of the calendar year, and even at Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, we're still having some end of year, beginning of year type meetings. There's a lot happening at once, and some of it I can't get into it now. Later on this month, and as we get into February, which is not only Black History Month, but it's also when we traditionally do some announcements and a special fundraiser and all that kind of stuff. We'll have some special announcements for you then as well. But just suffice to say that we're no longer in 2025, obviously, but we're still kind of wrapping up some things and rolling out some things for 2026. So there's a lot that's going on. Again, ibsi.org. You can find out more about our organization, about what we do. We were founded back in 2013, something that was on my heart to do after my first trip to Israel, which was Hanukkah 2012. I was part of the African American Pastors Tour with Christians United for Israel, an organization that I went on to serve with for some 7 years almost, between 2014 and 2021. But in 2012, I was not on staff yet. I was just nobody in particular, just a pastor. I knew a couple of people, some leaders with CUFI, and I was asked to join the group. Our tour leader was the venerable Dr. Michael Stevens of City Church out here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I live near where he lives now. At that time, I lived in California. That's where I'm from. Shout out to all of our California friends and family that's there, especially Congregation of Zion. They're in Stockton. So we moved to the East Coast, the Charlotte area, in August, the summer of 2020. Yes, that was COVID. No, it had nothing to do with COVID. Had already been planning the move. It just so happens that it coincided with all the things that were going on. And so I was no longer on staff with CUFI as of May of 21, and returned full time in that sense, in terms of the occupation of my time, if I can use that word, beginning in May, June 21, to the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And so, yes, for the last several years, have been traveling the country, traveling quite a bit to Africa, to Israel, strengthening or doing our mandate, if you will. We're not so vain as to think that we are doing this on our own, but our mandate was to strengthen the tie and the alliance between Africa and Israel and the Black and Jewish communities. And we have been attempting to do that as much as we possibly can by God's grace since the summer of 2013. But since we returned from serving with CUFI for nearly 7 years. So it's great to be with you today. We do have announcements and everything, and I'm going to weave that into everything else, because if you saw some of the bullets there, there's even a Bible teaching thing we might get into today. We'll see where it goes. I know it becomes cliche-ish at some point, And Miss Producer, if I'm not I guess I'm sounding okay because I'm not getting any notes or anything like that. So I should be good. I think I'm good. I'm good. Yes. Okay, good. All right. There's everything from the United States. The Trump administration went and arrested Nicolas Maduro, the president, some would say fraudulent president of Venezuela. He is now in the United States, going to stand trial. We might touch on that some. The situation with African Christians, particularly Nigeria at the moment. Nigeria is not the only place where Christians in Africa are being persecuted. They are being killed. They are being raped. They are being. It is a jihad, as we said after October 7th. What happened to our Israeli brothers and sisters? That happens every week in Sudan. That happens every week in Nigeria. And that's not to downplay at all what happened in Israel. It's just saying that the problem of jihad, global jihad, is a global problem. And so that's even when we said before African Jewish Alliance was formed. You can go to africanjewishalliance.org. We were part of the founding members of that organization, and they basically began to say, hey, this happens all the time to us, and it's the same thing. Hamas is Hezbollah, is Boko Haram, is Al-Shabaab, is the Fulani herdsmen, is Al-Qaeda, is ISIS, is on and on and on. These are jihadists. These people, for them, their Muslim faith for them means they're going to do exactly and very deliberately and very literally what those passages in the Quran tell them to do, which is basically kill the infidel. People try to dress it all up and everything, but no, that's what they're doing. That doesn't mean that all Muslims do that. Most Muslims don't do that, but it is in the text. It tells them you go do this, right? You kill the Jews, you kill the Christians, and you kill other Muslims who aren't being the right type of Muslim. All those people are considered infidels. And it is a global problem that's actually rising, and the rhetoric and the what's the word I'm looking for? The propaganda is fueled mostly in the West in terms of the brainwashing of students, college students, as well as grade students. They are getting all kinds of jihadist and anti-Israel, anti-America propaganda shoved down their throats. No one's more responsible for funding that than the government of Qatar, which I'm sure we'll touch on as well. So there's a lot that's happening. And so, yeah, we want to get into that. So I want to say, along with that, again, not just when I say lots is happening, there's amazing things that are happening. It's just a lot. So I want to start and feature, Joshua mentioned this on last week, but I want to feature this here. What is our first annual African Leaders Conference that will be in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. February the 12th through the 14th. We're just a little bit more than a month away from it, and we're still making plans. Sorry about that. So the African Young Leaders Conference of young African men and women, both and African American. There'll be delegates that'll be there from across the continent as well as from the United States. So I want to share a little bit about that and talk about that again. So now, if you're new, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Go ahead and share it wherever you're watching this, right? We're our YouTube page. We don't do a lot of, we do postings on it and everything, but we haven't focused on that as a channel. We'll probably get back to that a little bit later on this year. There's other staff things that we're doing. Again, some stuff I can't talk about. Miss Producer, I guess my microphone is okay. You let me know if it's too loud or too soft, whatever. But you can, on our YouTube page, again, on our X page, on our LinkedIn page, on our Instagram, you may be watching this from wherever you're watching it from. Give us a like. Please share it if you can. If you're on the YouTube page, do all that, like, subscribe, all the stuff that you're supposed to do. You'll see some clips of this later on by our amazing editor guy as well. Say some more about that too. So, all right. Let me share with you our promo video that we've done for it. And again, before I show it, let me say thank you again to all of our donors, all the work that the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel does. We are a nonprofit organization. Gifts are tax deductible. We are not connected to a government, whether the Israeli government, any African government, the United States government. We are funded by our donors, whether it's from the Christian community, the Jewish community, secular, religious, the different ones who see the work that we do. Again, you can find out more about it and all the details on IBSI.org. And again, thank you so much. It is difficult, like any other nonprofit. Those of you who run a nonprofit, you've been a part of a nonprofit, you know it's difficult to do. You have to do the fundraising and try to do the staff stuff and everything. So our family does a great part of it. Our amazing IBSI ambassadors, who again you'll be hearing more from as well, will be a part of the Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa, the first annual. We recognize what is happening in as much as we can, meaning that we have what's called in IBSI, what's called the Vision 2050, that in the next 25 years, according to Gallup and other polling institutions, the continent of Africa will be the largest in the world at about 2 billion plus people. It'll have the largest Christian population in the world and the largest Muslim population in the world. Just like there are the difficult areas in Africa where the jihadists is going on and all that type of thing, there's also the fastest growing Christian community in terms of region is Africa. The fastest growing Christian community in terms of a nation is actually Iran. Believe it or not, there is revival. You Christians, pastors and leaders out there, God is moving in Iran. Folks are coming to faith in Jesus in Iran, basically faster than any other place on the planet. In terms of region, though, that's actually sub-Saharan Africa, where they continue to both come to faith, but also they still have babies. There's a population collapse, as Elon Musk talks about this all the time, and it's true. There's a civilizational collapse happening virtually everywhere in the world except for a few areas, parts of Latin America, sub-Saharan Africa, and Israel, particularly among the Orthodox community. They're still having babies. But other parts of the world, they are not. And so over the next 25 years, the population will shift, and the largest portion of it will actually be on the African continent. So with that being said, and because African Zionism, we talked about this on last week, I think one of the articles that we put out on our Africa Israel Weekly, ibsi.substack.com, or you can go to ibsi.org, and then you can hit Africa Israel Weekly. You'll see on there that we do different articles, different writers and everything. I contribute, other people contribute. I've done a few of the last ones. And one of the things that of the last 2 or 3 weeks back was about African Christian Zionism, right? African Christian Zionism, how it is growing despite the attempts of Israel haters to snuff it out. The harder they try, the worse it gets for them. And ground zero for the pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel mindset or ideology is South Africa, because of how Israel's enemies have tried to use the apartheid struggle against Israel. Not only has it not worked, ladies and gentlemen, it has actually backfired. So again, check out that article. So when we're having this conference is intentionally in Ethiopia with Africans, young Africans from across the continent, as well as Black Americans, to have these conversations about what is next, what's happening. IBSI goes beyond the part of just of advocacy. Yes, advocacy, teaching and empowerment and everything. But what we've done, what we seek to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is, I'm sorry, give me one quick second. I'm pausing. This is live. We are live and in living color, and I want to make sure I can do this the way I was trying to do it before. Boom, I think I got it now. Yeah. We want to make sure that we are forward facing. We are realistic. We try to be about what's happening, the rise of anti-Semitism, particularly throughout the Western world, what's going on in our colleges, what's going on social media. It is very, very, very bad. And we try to be very clear-minded and sober-minded about that. At the same time, we see some amazing things that are happening, that are unfolding. And among those things is, for the work that we do at the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel, there is an African Christian Zionism that's actually growing. And we talk about the continent of Africa, for example, being the largest within the next 25 years, possibly or less, 2 billion people. It's also the youngest continent on the planet. 70% of Africa's eventually 2 billion people are actually 30 years and younger. 30 years and younger. That's the vast majority, 70% of sub-Saharan Africa. That's what's actually happening. Most of them Christians, and many of those Christians ardent supporters of Israel. IBSI believes that generation, along with their African diaspora brothers and sisters, need to be able to come together, need to be able to be prepared to have that leadership role when it comes to having that voice that speaks for this solidarity with Israel, that speaks against jihadism, that speaks against the extremism, that actually comes together and wants to see a peace and a real prosperity, all of those things. Now, yes, I'm a pastor. I understand that ultimately peace will only come when Messiah comes. I totally get that, but we are also called to be peacemakers. I think that Jesus said something about blessed are the peacemakers. Yes, thank you very much, all you church folk out there. All right, here we go. I wanted you to check out this video. We'll say some more about it. Miss Producer, go ahead and give me the YLC 2026 video. September in Addis Ababa, the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel helped present a 3,000-year friendship celebrating the Africa-Israel relationship. The event was led by the Let Africa Go movement with support from the Israel-Africa Relations Institute and the Valop Group. The celebration was a tremendous success. After the celebration in Addis, IBSI announced its delegation of African and Black American leaders to Israel who would tour the country and join in the annual Ethiopian Seged celebration in Jerusalem. This all happened in November and was another tremendous success. Finally, IBSI announced the first annual Young Leaders Conference of African and Black American men and women. This conference is scheduled for February the 12th through the 14th, 2026 in Addis Ababa. We will gather some 100 delegates to discuss African Zionism, Pan-Africanism, education, business, technology, geopolitics, music, and much more. All that IBSI has done has been made possible by our amazing donors, and we need your help to continue moving forward. Instead of a traditional end-of-year giving message, we're asking you to help us cover the cost of the Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa. Just go to ibsi.org/donate and mark your tax-deductible gift with YLC 2026. Or to support any area of IBSI's work, go to ibsi.org/donate and simply select General. To learn more, go to ibsi.org and join our emailing list, or email us directly at info@ibsi-now.org. I see there, I loaded up the video that didn't have the subtitles on it, but you heard it and everything. There's another one subtitled. So that video that you just saw, that promo video, it's on our YouTube page, it's on all of our social media pages and everything. Whether you're a donor or not, if you want to just help, just share that video. So again, that's all the information about it, just kind of an overview. As we've been talking about this conference, both in Africa and in Israel and in the US, as we've been doing different events and everything, there is an excitement that's there. Whether it's young Black Americans who want to be a part of it, we've actually had more requests to be a part of it than we're actually going to be able to have space for, or whether it's other people who just see it, maybe see the vision and want to be a part of it. So whether it's been donors and whether it's been people, again, just sharing and saying, hey, we're praying for that, we're excited about that, checking in about it and everything. Again, first of all, for all of you, wherever you are in that vein in terms of supporting it, thank you again. Thank you so much. We are looking at, again, having anywhere between 25 to 50 to even more delegates that are there, possibly as much as 100 delegates, again, coming from the African continent, as well as those coming from America. And later on, it'll be from other parts of the African diaspora. So now this is the first annual conference of its kind. We are already planning for the 2027. So again, this one is a very special one, not just because it's the first, but because of how we're approaching it. The delegates that will be coming, these young men, and they all be young parliamentarians, young people in terms of leadership and ministry in church and everything. There'll be different leaders within different sectors that'll be there, movers and shakers, those, as we talk about the youngest continent, these people who will very much be in charge when it comes to everything from running the country to churches and ministries and industries, that type of thing, who are already somewhat in charge now. So what we are doing is wanting to facilitate these conversations, almost like a summit, if you will, with these young minds from Africa and the African diaspora. We're doing it this way as an invitation only, and funding. Our donors are funding these young people to come. The way I say it like that is that next year, God say the same, there will be a more formal or more, I should say, kind of tried and tested registration and then kind of paying and that type of thing. In other words, the delegates who come after this year will be paying for their own way, like they would do like a convention or a summit, something like that. Yes, we'll have donors who will provide things like scholarships to help fray some of the cost, But this first one, IBSI and its partners, which is the Israel-Africa Relations Institute, and of course hosted by, again, you saw it on there, Let Africa Go movement. Shout out to Dr. Abera Habte, who is one of the evangelical leaders there in Ethiopia, and also the owner and the founder of El Shaddai Television Ministries. It is he and I have come together. He had a vision for what this need to happen. You need to hear this. This has been a very organic African movement. This has not even been coming from Black America in that sense. It's been us working with Africans who are saying, we stand with Israel. We want the peace and prosperity. We want to enter the extremism. And we see that as Christians, particularly, it is our biblical mandate to bless Zion. And here's the thing, they recognize as well that there's a prophetic call on Africa to lead the nations to Zion. As we've talked about it before, I've shared this before, and you can check out some of our sermons and speeches about these types of things, but it's rooted very much in the word of God. David prophesied in Psalm 68, verse 31, princes shall come out of Mitzrayim, Cush shall soon stretch out her hands to God. Princes shall come out of Egypt, Ethiopia shall bring the gift to God in Zion, is what he's talking about there. Well, lo and behold, the Queen of Sheba comes and visits David's son Solomon in the holy city of Jerusalem, the undivided eternal capital, 3,000 years ago, just a few years after David made that prophecy. Jesus himself refers to it, I believe in Matthew, I believe it's chapter 12, verse 47, if I'm not mistaken. He actually says, the queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment, for she came from the ends of the earth to see Solomon, and one greater than Solomon is here. Even as Jesus, proclaiming himself as Messiah, points to the Queen of Sheba and says, here's a foreshadowing of the nations coming to Zion when Africa brought the gift to Zion. And that's actually a prophetic call, as we say. And it's more than that, but just give you a little thumbnail of it, if you will. So again, we recognize that there is a special call in Africa. This is part of the reason why the global terrorism storm, eye of the storm is not always a good term, because eye of the storm usually means it's peaceful, but it's not. Terrorism since 2020, global terrorism has been the highest in Africa than any other place. And this just shifted in 2020. There's different things about that. We write about that in our Africa Israel Weekly as well. So again, there's lots of things that need to be discussed and planned for. And we are looking for some amazing things. If you want to be a part of the Young Leaders Conference, hashtag YLC 2026. If you want to give, you can go to ibsi.org/donate. You want more information, go to info@ibsi-now.org, and we'll talk to you about that. So I wanted to let you know, to highlight that we are excited. We're humbled in this moment. We recognize that this is a God moment. This is something that God is doing, and we're very much wanting to be in our place. We want to make sure that we're playing the role that we are supposed to be playing. And this is a very, very prophetic moment. So I just wanted to share that with you. So again, thank you again for all your prayers and all your support. We still need you. The more our donors help us, the more we are able to both host it and then also look ahead to what we're doing in 2026. All right. I think I'd say that there. All right. That's the first part, ladies and gentlemen. I want to turn the page here, and I want to say something, staying on the Africa theme here, about what's going on, especially in Nigeria. Now, Ms. Producer, if you can, I'm gonna have you share the graphic to the article or the statement that was made. IBSI, and let me set this up. On December 25th is actually on Christmas Day. The United States government, under the leadership, obviously, of the Commander-in-Chief, U.S. AFRICOM, Africa Command, fired missile strikes into the northern part of Nigeria at what were, I say allegedly, ISIS targets, because there's been some discrepancy about how many, if any, casualties happened. To this day, we still don't seem to have an official tally from the United States government, which is where we'll be coming from, about ISIS members, terrorists that were actually killed in that missile strike. As a matter of fact, there are some locals there in Nigeria who said that those missile strikes actually hit open fields, open areas, and there were no casualties. Now, we're not saying that's a fact. We're saying that that's actually been reported, and we don't have numbers. So IBSI made a statement a couple of days after that. We issued an official statement about those strikes. And I'm not going to read the whole thing for you. It's not very long, but I won't read it here. But if you have the cover to that, Ms. Producer, you just show that there. You can read our official statement at our no, not that one, ma'am. Although you can read, that's another one about the enemies, Israel's enemies frustrated by growing African Zionism. I don't know. Maybe I didn't put it on there. I thought I put it on there, but I don't see it on there. And if it's not, it's okay. So what you want to do, let's see here. Oh, there it is. I think I see it. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Yes, so it's not, so there's some of these things on there. It was there and it's gone. So I can't show it to you. Now, this is a clip. I can show it to you, but right now this is live. If you go to IBSI.org, and I'm sorry, IBSI.org, and go to Africa Israel Weekly or IBSI.substack.com, and you will see IBSI's official statement on the U.S. missile strikes in Nigeria. It's a short statement. I'm going to show you the cover to it, but even if you don't see the cover, it's there. You can go to our Africa Israel Weekly. You can join. You can subscribe to our Substack. Please do. You can do it as a premium for a certain amount a month, or you can do the free one as well. You have more access to more things if you do the premium one. Especially this year, there's going to be some amazing things happening. And I want to give you the gist of it instead of reading it to you. Since we're live, we get to interact. We basically, on the statement, and how I say this, because I'm going to go further, we are critical of the things where the U.S. government is concerned that have not been helpful. We acknowledge that for the Nigerian people who have been just forgotten about, many of them encouraged to see that someone cares and to see the superpower of the United States of America at least looking like it's doing something is not a bad thing. It can intimidate the jihadist. However, we also acknowledge that, and there's a little personal thing in there for me. Remember, IBSI began in 2013, long before the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel existed. Me personally, I've been advocating for persecuted Christians in Africa, particularly in Sudan and the Darfur region, since the 1990s, right? So you're going back 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. So long before I was never an anti-Zionist. I just wasn't as locked in as aware of the modern state of Israel. That wasn't until a little bit later on in my life. But as a spiritual Zionist, and I've wrote about it in my book, I've talked about it in terms of spiritual Zionism, the Word of God, gospel music, the Jerusalem, all those types of things, and coming up as a musician in church, those things really resonated with me very, very deeply. Loved Israel, loved the Jewish people. That was just something as a Christian Zionist, but didn't really understand anything about the modern state of Israel until later on, post college and post. It wasn't until like the earlier 2000 teens, something like that, right? Before I actually visited Israel, right? So I'm saying that for a reason. So we've been praying for and actively involved in making people aware of Christians in Nigeria, Christians in Sudan, the slavery that has been going on, which is connected to Arab Islam since the 7th century, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this goes way back, right? The trans-Saharan slave trade started in the later 600 AD and has not ended, right? To this day, you can still buy castrated slaves, Black African slaves in different parts of Africa and the Arab Muslim world. And people sometimes they get on the touchy feel, oh, that's Islamophobic. No, that's fact. This is absolutely ridiculous, which we can't unpack all that today. That's another conversation. But anyway, the reason I say that is that we've been aware of these things, and what we've never done, myself personally or IBSI, we've never advocated for military intervention on any part from the United States in Africa where these things are concerned. Now, I'm saying this for a reason. So when the missile strikes happened, some people came to us and said, aren't you happy? So, well, we've never called for that. We've never said the United States should go and bomb this place or that place in Africa to free the people. Now, again, that's a decision that the commander-in-chief has to make. And I can tell you that many Nigerians are very happy that President Trump made that decision. At the same time, what's happened since then and doesn't get talked about is that jihadism, there's been more abductions and killings since then. not just by ISIS, but Fulani herdsmen, which are the #1 perpetrators of the violence against Christians in Nigeria. People say, oh, it's just land disputes. There are some land dispute things, but no, ladies and gentlemen, it is jihad. And there are people, there's funds that are coming to that. I mean, again, unfortunately, like I said before, some of the money, for example, we as a government still send tens of millions of dollars each week to the Taliban based in Afghanistan and Qatar, and that money is being distributed to Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda and ISIS and different ones. This has been going on for quite a while. The Doha deal is what that actually was. That particular transfer fund happened during the Biden administration. It has just not stopped during the Trump administration. There's actually a defund the Taliban bill that was introduced to Congress. It finally passed Congress back in, I don't know, May, June, July, something like that. But it has pretty much died in the Senate. It won't, there's problems with it going through the Senate. So again, during the Trump administration, so people get mad at you're saying that Trump is funding terrorism. No, we're saying the Trump administration, our government is funding global terrorism. That is true. We're not trying to do a wink, wink, and nod, nod. We have not stopped the payments to the terrorism, the very terrorism that is actually being visited on places like Nigeria and Sudan and other places. Some of that is being funded by the United States. The #1 funder is Qatar. You have Turkey that's involved in that as well. There's a video that we shared about that by Raven Ibrahim talking about Turkey's connection to the whole jihadism in Nigeria and other places. So it's not just by itself, but unfortunately, U.S. tax dollars are going to fund global jihad. Now, pause, sorry. Oh, Pastor Dumisani has something. It's just true. I don't do feelings. It's actually true. So part of the point that we're making is that on the one hand, a U.S. intervention to at least care about what's going on with the Nigerian Christians or Christians worldwide is a good thing. The problem is also that the United States, unfortunately, is still funding much of the terrorism that's happening in the Middle East and in Africa. And so if we could do both of those things, or at least, again, we're not for the intervention. I want to be very clear about that. We are not for the military intervention for multiple different reasons. One of the obvious ones is that once you have a foreign nation operating military in another nation, all kinds of bad things can jump off from there. But beyond that is that, for example, the Nigerian government, there have been Nigerians, journalists and others who have talked about how much the Nigerian government is complicit, whether or not some of these jihadists are part of the military, are part of the police. If there's that type of corruption there, that's something that has to happen in the country. So this is a more systemic problem when it comes to some of these governments. And the United States bombing or any place bombing places in there is not going to change that type of rubric when it comes to the government itself, right? This is something that African leaders and places like the African Union, they're going to have to be proactive about seeing the end of that type of violence. And we don't see that the whole bombing from outside, from the United States or any other place, as a real foreseeable, workable end to that. Now, again, for those of you, Pastor, we have to do something. Yes, I get it. These are desperate times. They call for desperate measures. And we give President Trump credit for at least acknowledging during his first administration, there was no bombing, but he did hold who was then president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, accountable. He said, I'm hearing that you are killing Christians. Why are you killing Christians? He confronted him in that Trump sort of way. And we applauded that because we're saying if the most powerful nation on the earth lets other nations know, hey, you are on notice, we're watching you, and sanctions, right? And removal of, if there's aid that's going there, cutting that off, yes, that can be a certain amount of pain to the other people, but we're saying something has to happen to force those governments to not engage in things like allowing their people to be slaughtered because of their faith. This is something that we've always advocated for, not so much some sort of military intervention, but for the pressure that the most powerful nation on the earth can place on a nation to stop slaughtering and persecuting its own people. So I wanted to be able to say that. So if you can check out our statement that's there, it's nuanced because this is a difficult thing. Good evening, ma'am. I see some of the folks out there giving those shout outs. Mark, hello, to Mark, to Dakani. Hey, how you doing? And then Pastor Matrilla Hall, one of our IBSI pastors down there, Pastor Matrilla and Kendrick Hall down there in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Good to see you all. We had an amazing time in Israel. We took our first Black pastors and African pastors tour to Israel back in November, right before Thanksgiving. You saw that. If you saw that video, if you're just joining and you missed the video that we shared about the young leaders conference coming up in Ethiopia, we have a couple of tiny clips in there about our African American pastors tour to Israel. Pastor Matrilla Hall was a part of that amazing group. Pastors from all over the country. So again, great to see them. We're going to be seeing them later on this year. As a matter of fact, Pastor Matrilla will be contacting you all because we're going to be coming down there and doing an event probably during this first quarter if it works out for you and Pastor Lucius McDowell out there, other Black pastors in that area, in the Atlanta area. So we're looking forward to that as well. Baltimore area, we're coming out your way, the DMV area, and others, our pastor friends out there in the LA area. We are going to be doing the live. We have what's called a live in-person forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America. This, what began as a podcast, is a live event that we do with different speakers and different interactions that we do for no more than 25 pastors and leaders so that we can kind of get into. We have a whole a workshop that we do. We serve a continental breakfast. We do lunch, multiple speakers and multiple topics. And we talk about how this whole African Zion, this whole Israel issue, both biblically, geopolitically, how it uniquely impacts Black communities. Again, this is not about being divisive or racism, any of those types of things, whether biblically, whether historically. There's been a unique relationship between Africa and Israel and the African and Jewish diasporas. This is just true. And because of that, we find that the Black leaders often need to know some of those things, not just historically, but about what that means right now. So we have those conversations with them. Again, as a donor, IBSI.org. /donate. When you give your tax deductible gifts, also go to those things. We don't charge for those events. We don't charge for in terms of outside people coming and the invitations, and nor do we charge the pastors who host them. And we want to not be a burden on them at all. So those things, we come in at our expense, flying there, driving there, whatever, bringing our materials. And we want to make sure that everyone can just come and enjoy and receive the information and not be a burden of those pastors or those ministries or those organizations that are hosting us. If they want to give us a love offering, an honorarium, that we gladly accept it and appreciate it. And we even ask the pastors to consider having their organizations and their ministries giving to IBSI as a nonprofit. But when it comes to those events, there's not amounts that are attached to that. We're able to only do that because of our donors. Again, and we appreciate you guys so much. If you are a leader, please consider. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pastor Matrilla. She's out there letting them know. And Pastor Matrilla, we also talk about that whole 100 men thing. We still want to do that to 100 men of the leaders, having that event down there. We're going to hopefully do that later on this year. So much involved that's there. I was giving a shout out, y'all, and also kind of letting you know what was going on a broader front. I want to stay with the theme of the Christian persecution. Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, was in Florida last week. He met the president at Mar-a-Lago at President Trump's home, but he was there for a few days, and he also met with evangelical Christian leaders there. My wife and I were actually supposed to be at the event, but we could not make it. We were invited by our dear friend, Ms. Lori Cardoza-Moore. Shout out to Lori out there. If you're out there, appreciate you. She gave us a heads up. Hey, we'd love you, have you come and join us. Dr. Mike Evans, who is the head of Friends of Zion Museum, he and his amazing crew hosted 1,000 pastors in Israel. The beginning of December, that was my 5th or 6th week in Israel as I had been there. I was honored to be a part of that group. Again, thank you, Dr. Evans, for hosting everyone. It was an amazing time. And so he was there with them. Benjamin Netanyahu gave some comments to those Christian leaders who joined him in Florida last week. And we got a little bit of a snippet of it. And he talked specifically about Israel standing with their Christian brothers and sisters, not just in Israel, where it's the safest place there in the region for Christians, where they're actually growing and thriving there as well, but around the world, just tiny Israel, making a commitment that in as much as they can, whether it's counterterrorism and technology, the type of thing, helping defend religious freedom, and especially Christians, who are the most, ladies and gentlemen, statistically, the most persecuted ethnic group on the planet are Jews. The most persecuted religious group on the planet are Christians. And this is just by sheer numbers. There's only about 17 million Jews. If you're counting some of the Igbos, so the numbers will fluctuate some more. But there are, 2 billion, whatever the number is, Christians around the world, many of them who live in peril in places like the Middle East, parts of Africa, parts of Latin America, who are suffering, whether it's jail, torture, mass rapes, killings, all types of things that are happening. And the church in its 2,000-year history has never known the type of persecution that it's knowing right now. Who is it that's standing up to be counted and stand with us? It is our Jewish brothers and sisters, led by particularly now the Prime Minister of Israel. So, Ms. Producer, if you have that, please share that Bibi Netanyahu clip. I want people to see that real quick.
I believe that faith should be silent and terrorism should be understood. No. Faith should speak its voice, and terrorism should be confronted, not understood, confronted and defeated. And that is what we're engaged in right now. So I want you to know that I spoke with President Trump yesterday. I said this publicly too. I see the battle against us and the battle against our Judeo-Christian tradition basically being waged around the globe. And it's waged primarily by two forces, radical Shiite Islam and radical Sunni Islam. That means the axis that is led by Iran, much battered, admittedly, but still there, and the axis, the Sunni axis, led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which permeates everything. They go to Europe, they go to the United States, they go to Africa, Nigeria. And we are conscious of the fact that Christians are being persecuted across the Middle East, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Nigeria, in Turkey, and beyond. And we're also aware of the fact, as you are, that one country protects the Christian community, enables it to grow, defends it, and makes sure that it thrives. And that country is Israel. There is no other. We are joining an effort to have basically a United Nations of countries that support Christian communities around the world, beleaguered communities who deserve our help. Just as you are helping us, we want to help back. And we're capable of doing that. It's a main part of our agenda, and it's going to continue with greater force and greater might in this coming year.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, letting Christian Zionist leaders know on behalf of Israel, and then to the Christian world, Israel has your back. Israel will stand with you. Israel's going to do all that it can. Now, wrap your brain around that. They're fighting a 7-8 front war still as we speak. They're still fighting or skirmishes or danger there in Lebanon to the north and in Gaza to the south, which is another conversation as well. And Iran, as he said, even though they've been battered and beleaguered, and there's still plans, like there's plans for them to hit Iran again to completely take out part of that, maybe that regime, if not their nuclear capabilities at all. And again, on in the Houthis and Yemen and on and on. And so what Netanyahu is saying that, yes, we are fighting all of these different fights for our very existence, but we also recognize that our Christian brothers and sisters, who are our greatest supporters outside of the Jewish people, are Christian Zionists, and we are determined. Now, I saw some of the naysayers. First of all, the Netanyahu haters, the Israel haters, the anti-Semites, who nobody cares, right? But there's some other ones who are just kind of cynical and skeptical. Oh, what's he going to do? Well, I take it at face value. Again, people get mad with the Trump supporters. Oh, you're so hard on the president. I'm an American, and I can be critical of my government while I'm praying for my nation, praying for our leaders, as the word of God says. At the same time, for my Israeli friends, they'll take Benjamin Netanyahu to task. I don't like this about him. I don't like that. Well, I'm not an Israeli. I'm not as intimately aware of the goings on day to day of all the domestic stuff where Israel is concerned in its politics and the Likud party. I know there's different parties and there's a Knesset and all those things. And I let my Israeli friends do that, right? I let them do that. Let them have at it. They'll say what they want to say. I'm talking now as a Christian leader who does pray for the peace of Jerusalem, who is active in this space, to hear the Israeli prime minister. Okay, just like they were saying, there are Africans and Nigerian Christians who, when they saw President Trump do something to let the world know what's going on there with all the jihadists that are slaughtering them, and they are very, very grateful, very happy about that, right? Well, there are Christians who heard Benjamin Netanyahu, Christians who are aware of what's going on with our brothers and sisters in faith around the world, and to have strong Israel, tiny but strong Israel, say, we care and we're going to help. We're going to do what we can. Now, let me also say they've been doing this for a number of years. Israel's been helping with counterterrorism and things like that in Africa and different parts of the world for a long time. It's not like they've been sitting on their hands, right? We're aware that we've shared those type of articles. We shared about how they would help with the counterterrorism against Boko Haram, and how they've helped with other areas, other parts of it, where Kenya is concerned, Al-Shabaab, which is based there in Somalia, and how Israel's been there helping. So it's not like it hasn't been doing that. It's been doing that for a long time. But this is the first time we've heard the prime minister say these types of words as a commitment to the Christian world. Israel is going to be there to help you. So we found that was very, very important. I want to share that with you. So thank you again, Mr. Prime Minister, for that. On behalf of the Christians around the world, I can't speak for them, but I'm just saying, as a Christian, I do say, in terms of what we call the body of Christ, thank you. Again, it doesn't get talked about, unfortunately, even within the United States. There's a lot of Christians who are not aware or couldn't care less about what's going on with their Christian brothers and sisters, whether it's in Latin America, whether it's in Africa. But to see our Israeli friends say that, and actually we know that you mean it, we appreciate that, sir. So thank you very much. All right. So then along with that, there's another thing too. So I want to show you this other clip. I think, Miss Producer, let me double check here, because there was a one that dealt with the Africa part as well. I'll come back to the Maduro part if we have time. Let's see here. I don't know the young man's name. Africa Today is a channel that I watch every once in a while. We scour, we try to get some different information from different sources and everything when it comes to Africa, what's going on, writing and videos and everything. And Africa Today, I don't know a whole lot about the channel. I've just seen over the last maybe several months, not quite a year, I would see videos every once in a while, subscribed, and they seem to do a pretty fair and balanced job. I have some issues every once in a while with how they'll present this thing or that thing. I haven't seen anything totally egregious yet. Not that I'm looking for it, but if I see it, I'll say something. But there's a video that it is a 14-minute video. I just got a little clip, tiny little clip, and talking about now the Nicolas Maduro thing. I don't remember the exact title of it. So you'll see Africa Today. You can go on their YouTube and check out their last one, but they actually talk about what the U.S. actions in Venezuela could mean for Africa. Okay. That's the gist. That's the premise of the video. I want to show you just a little bit of it here, because he actually connects what the U.S. just did in Venezuela, where Maduro's, they arrested Nicolas Maduro. He will stand trial now for the narco stuff, for the drug trafficking, for the despotism, for his role in stealing the election. And some were saying that also his role in helping the fraudulence of the 2020 election, all the what they call shenanigans, that it seems as though he and the people in Venezuela, the regime, he's very connected to Russia and Iran. He's not by himself. He's very much backed by these very, very, despotic regimes. But this young man in the video has something to say. It's a very good, I recommend you see the whole thing. I wish I would have got the thumbnail for the whole thing, but you'll check it out. Just see on Africa Today on YouTube. Check it out. But Miss Producer, go ahead and show them that video. I want them to see this part that he actually says on this little clip.
What we know. January 3rd, 2026 showed that if you steal elections, run criminal operations, and hide behind sovereignty, that might not work anymore. Venezuelans are celebrating Nigerian Christians feel protected for the first time in years. At their risk? Yes, foreign intervention can go wrong. Power can be abused. But there are also risks in doing nothing, in letting terrorist groups unalive Christians with impunity, in letting dictators rig elections decade after decade while their people suffer. So here is my take. If you are an African leader who genuinely won your elections, who is fighting corruption, who is protecting your citizens, you probably don't need to worry about this precedent. But if you eliminated your real opponents before the vote, if you are enriching yourself while your people starve, if you are letting terrorists operate because you are afraid of your own military, then yeah, maybe you should be worried, because the world is changing and sovereignty isn't going to be an absolute shield anymore for leaders who abuse it.
I'm sorry, I was talking. I didn't know it wasn't unmuted. That's about a 1.5 minute clip of this young man breaking down what the U.S. actions in Venezuela could mean for African leaders. Especially, I was connecting it to the whole persecution of Christians, right? You have the United States striking Nigeria. You have the Israeli prime minister saying our commitment is to help Christians that are being persecuted around the world, including he specifically named Nigeria. So he was saying, if you should go see, it's about 14 minutes. Check it out. Go to Africa Today. Again, we as IBSI, I'm recommending the video. I haven't looked at all. I've watched them from time to time over the past several months, right? And I'm saying that because I couldn't recommend it like a channel, in that I haven't really done a deeper dive on many other things that they may have discussed, and some things that I may not agree with, right? I'm just saying that some of the videos that I have seen, including that one, I very highly recommend it, so you could see. He does I believe, a fair and balanced, if I can use that term, way of presenting it, because he, among other things, talks about both the need for what the United States just did in Venezuela, but the danger of one nation then coming into another sovereign nation. Again, he just lays it out and has that discussion. So I recommend that for all the reasons. We saw the Africa part of it, obviously, in terms of what we do for Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. So, which leads me to what will probably be my last thing here tonight. I want to make sure give a little bit more context to our sometimes very strong criticisms of the approach of the Trump administration, right? About these things where terrorism is concerned, the Israel part of it is concerned, the Africa part, we're vocal. If you've seen our stuff on social media, some of you I'll see from time to time, hey, I heard you've been reading some of your things. Every once in a while, it's like, oh, you're kind of hard on this and the other. And again, I hear that. When people get all snarky on social media and then get disrespectful, we just kind of hide them and just keep going, because nobody has time for that. And so that's not what we use social media for. I don't do tutorials. I don't do sermonizing, all that kind of stuff on the back. We post that, and then when I'm speaking and interacting. But on social media, just to have the little cat fights back and forth in the comment section, I don't have time. No, life is short. Now, having said all that, yes, we are critical, but I want to be very clear about a couple of things. Number one, we are no more critical of the Trump administration and some of the things that it does that we think are problematic, and I'll get to those in a second, than we were in previous administrations. Now, again, our history only goes back to 2013. So when we actually formed, it was during the second term of the Obama administration. So I could tell you some of the things that I felt about during the Bush administration, but we weren't on social media, and IBSI didn't exist. So the only administrations that we have been in existence through have been the Obama, Trump, and Biden/Obama administrations. And so anyone who's followed us any length of time knows that we were very vocal around the Obama administration, around things that we felt were wrong. Now, for all of you Trump supporters out there, how dare you compare Trump to Obama? See, I don't have time for the emotional game playing. I'm talking about who was the president. What you felt about the president, whether you are pro or anti-Obama, or whether you're pro or anti-Trump, is irrelevant to the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. That's the point that I'm getting to. We don't stick our finger up in the air and look and see which way the wind is blowing. We don't play the game. There are times when we'll post things and say things, and our engagement will go down because people will get angry. We don't care. I'll say this as I used to say as a pastor to our congregation all the time. I love you enough to not care about what you're thinking about what I'm saying. I'm going to tell you what I believe to be the truth. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. That's just how we approach it. So I could go on and on. When we were critical around the Maduro thing, because we actually made a couple of statements, right? One of the statements, I made a snarky statement. Yeah, admittedly snarky. I said, if we're going to start arresting despots, how about Al-Jilani out there in Syria? People, it's not the same thing. It's my point, my singular point. If you're going to do some sort of moral high ground about what he's doing to his people, then there's other dictators that are doing evil things to their people. Stay with me. if the pretext for going into Venezuela was because they are a proxy of Iran, of China, of Russia, of terrorism, their interference in our election, all of the types of things, forget it. And there's a lot of evidence there that he stole his election, an illegitimate president. Hey, if the commander-in-chief of the most powerful nation in the world here in this Western hemisphere feels that he needs to go in and wreak havoc and deal with it, that's on him. I'm praying for our leaders, as the word of God says. What I also was pointing out, however, was that if we are dealing with that from the standpoint of terrorism, national security, our own national security is often being neglected. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, not 2 or 3 weeks ago, went on the press circuit and let the people know that the FBI is tracking some 18,000 known or suspected terrorists. My question to Ms. Gabbard, with all due respect, is why did I not hear after that how many of them have been apprehended and shipped back to where they came from, or jailed or tried? This is the problem, is that when it comes to actually rounding up, ICE is out there doing a dangerous job. I know it's a controversial thing, but look, if they're here illegally or if dangerous things are happening, then the people need to be taken off the street. But here's the problem. What we're seeing is a lot of arresting of people who were maybe here illegally, but at the same time weren't connected to the terrorist cells. So, for example, Miss Sarah Adams, who is a former CIA targeter, follow her if you haven't. She's on social media. She does amazing work. She was part of the Benghazi crew, these heroes that were doing intelligence. And I mean, these people, not just her, but I mentioned her because there's another group out there. There's a group out there that's actually, they're speaking truth to power. They're the American patriots. They've laid their lives on the line. They too are often critical of the Trump administration for what they see as a lax approach to our national security, and not to mention the fact that we are still funding the Taliban, which is passing out payments to Boko Haram, to Al-Shabaab. Are you following me? I'm saying that if we are going to then get on our moral high horse and bring Maduro in and have all these trials, that and the other, while we're funding the global terrorism we say we're concerned with, that is a duality that does not work. I'm going to have to preach to you in a moment. We're not just talking about how it's cognitively dissonant. We're talking about the spiritual, right? Oh, Pastor, there's a plan. You have to trust the plan. Stop telling me to trust the plan. He's not Jesus. Stop telling me to trust the man and the plan. I pray for our leaders. God knows that I've been doing this for a long time. And at the same time, I'll use my voice to speak truth to power. So when you arrest Nicolas Maduro, but a few months ago, you had al-Jilani, who's overseeing a genocide. The only reason why al-Jilani of Syria has not finished off the Jews in the Christian community is, guess what? Israel. Israel has been there intervening, sending missile strikes into Damascus, letting him know, you keep killing those Jews, we are not going to stand for it. While the Trump administration didn't want Israel doing anything. Tom Barak, who is our ambassador to Turkey, blaming Israel, saying that it's trying to destabilize Syria. Right? That's the Trump administration, right? These are the types of things that we call out for the problems that they are. Right? So that gets people offended, whatever. Don't click on the button no more. Seriously, because we're not going to stop speaking truth to power. So that situation, not just where Syria is concerned, but I could go on and on about this. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm give you another example here. Turkey, as a government, Erdogan, the president, he's just as bloodthirsty jihadist as the Ayatollahs. Like I said before, the only real difference between the Turkish regime and the Iranian regime is that the Turkish regime is Sunni and the Iranian regime is Shia, but both have genocidal goals when it comes to establishing a caliphate, starting with Israel and then going to the United States. Yet President Trump thinks Erdogan is the man. We have a problem with that. right? And to people, oh, what has to deal with people? We're not talking about going to war with Turkey. We're not talking about going to war with Qatar. We're not talking about going to war with anyone. We're talking about actually recognizing and acknowledging that these are mortal threats, existential threats. Qatar means no one any good. I want to, do this last one. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to, because I will start preaching the sermon. I'll be here for a good while here. So Mr. Producer, in a second, I'll have you give me that Trump video. So a few weeks ago, and again, shout out to Lori Cardozo Moore. She asked me to do something in Nashville. I'll be in Nashville, and then there's another thing that they're having a panel. They're having a panel, and I think part of the panel are conservative influencers. The panel's about conservative influencers shilling for Qatar, basically. Conservatives going to Qatar, not just Tucker Carlson, the dude's whack dude, but I'm talking about other ones, especially younger people, right? I'm not even naming the names. I'm getting that's not the point right now. But a group of them who've been going to Qatar, living it up, going to hotels, and basically going there on Qatar's dime to actually do what people keep accusing Israel of doing. We're posting stuff on there. Are you getting $7,000? Ha, ha, ha. I don't even know where that came from. And no, $7,000. I post quite a bit on my phone. I'll be boom. I got a lot of stuff to do. Boom. But if I got $7,000 a pop, then that'd be cool. No, I'm not giving the state of Israel not paying us for any of these things, right? But Qatar is. Like William Bennett, who's on a retainer with them for $30,000 a month, the former education czar for Ronald Reagan. He's getting $30,000 a month to shill for Qatar. Google it. This actually happened, right? So anyway, so they're talking about these conservatives. Oh, the problem with conservatives, these are other Republicans, other conservatives who are concerned about the conservative influencers that are going to Qatar and whitewashing this genocidal regime. They are one of the top sponsors of global terrorism. And ladies and gentlemen, one of, if not the top funder of all the disinformation when it comes to against Israel, pro-Jihad, against America in our college and universities and through K through 12 education. The government of Qatar, billions and billions of dollars, according to ISGAP, the Institute for the Study of Global Antisemitism and Policy under Charles Asher Small, so they're operating about $1 trillion to affect soft power in the United States. That's just the United States, right? It's Qatar's the main nemesis, right? So people were saying, oh, we're concerned about these influencers. And we said, organization, well, Trump is the number one. He's the number one influencer. He actually, when they talked about all this different PR, well, Trump said that he told the Emir of Qatar that he needs better people, literally. So if you have the video, Mr. Producer, go ahead and roll that up for me, please.
Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. A lot of people don't know that. I told the Emir, who I think is a wonderful person, actually, I said, you need better public relations because you don't really get the public relations. I mean, people talk of it so badly, and they shouldn't be.
Uh-oh, you there? Yeah. In other words, President Trump just told the Emir of Qatar that he needs. That was about a couple of months ago. He's on the tarmac headed somewhere. He told the reporter, they're talking about Qatar, the same Qatar that told you is number one state sponsor of terrorism, all the disinformation on college campuses and everything. They control Hamas, they fund Hamas, all these things, right? So you don't get an October the 7th without a Qatar, right? Okay, so now President Trump, you're so mean. I don't care if it's President Trump, President Biden, President Obama. I don't. This is not about the person. I'm talking about the president telling the world that not only is Qatar the good guy, but people like Dumisani need to shut up. People talk about them so badly, and they shouldn't be. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. Oh, but you never say anything about the good things. We do. Shout out for this, shout out for that. But here's the problem. These aren't just, because I could go further. I could go much further, but I'm just cognizant of the time. And maybe I'll pick up where we left off, because I could do a whole hour on the stuff that the Trump administration is doing with and in conjunction with the Muslim Brotherhood and its affiliates, all of, right? So when I see the Nicolas Maduro thing, I said, no, I get it. Pastor Dumisani, aren't you happy for the people of Venezuela? Yes, absolutely. They've been oppressed, killed. This is not about. See, this is the game that gets played. That somehow, if you're critical of what's happening on a broader scale, you don't care. That's the game. The leftists play that game all the time. we as an organization were critical about the Gaza peace deal because we said it was a flawed deal. Among other things, we said at the end of the day, there was not going to be some sort of international peacekeeping force, that the IDF that has already lost 1,000 people fighting in Gaza, we're going to have to resume the fight and disarm Hamas. And people are telling us, you're so negative. Don't you care about the hostages? It's like going, my God. Of course, we're glad that the hostages are home. And with respect for the families who've been tortured all of that time, and there's still one more of the remains of the hostages that still Hamas still has not released, 100%. But at the same time, we're saying that the price that the United States of America inflicted on Israel was basically a two-state solution, with Hamas still in power in Gaza. And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, Turkey vying to put Turkish troops in Gaza. There's an article that just came out in the Jerusalem Post today, and it was basically stating that there's more pressure being placed on Netanyahu by President Trump to allow Turkish troops, not just in Gaza, but in other parts that would be an existential threat to Israel. So it's not just the flaws that we'll point out. We're not trying to be nitpicking. We're saying these are existential issues. That's the point that we're making. So when we say the Trump administration is doing this is wrong, this is and the other, it's not because we're sitting there trying to just find some flaws. It's, what's really interesting, it's almost funny. If we really said everything, some folks be fainting and clutching their pearls at the stuff we do post. If we posted everything, I told people before, the work that IBSI does, about 30% of it you see on social media. The rest of it you would never know about unless you were there and you were aware of what was actually going on. We use social media for what we use social media for. The other stuff that we do in the quote unquote real world, that's when we do that part. If we said everything that we saw, we're thinking, yeah, our pages would be 24/7 criticizing the Trump administration. Yes, then I would understand at that point too. So anyway, I'm going to stop there, Miss Producer, because again, I could keep going for a very, very long time. Someone says, how do we find out more about the trip? So if those of you, we're about to wrap this up here. I want to, you know what, Miss Producer, let's do so. I generally don't do this. So, but a lot of people have joined, and I'm getting ready to leave in a minute, but we started off talking about our main focus was the Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa, February the 12th through the 14th. I want you to cue up the video, Miss Producer, and just show them that video one more time, and then I'll close it out that way in a minute. In September in Addis Ababa, the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel helped present a 3,000-year friendship celebrating the Africa-Israel relationship. The event was led by the Let Africa Go movement with support from the Israel-Africa Relations Institute and the Valop Group. The celebration was a tremendous success. After the celebration in Addis, IBSI announced its delegation of African and Black American leaders to Israel who would tour the country and join in the annual Ethiopian Seged celebration in Jerusalem. This all happened in November and was another tremendous success. Finally, IBSI announced the first annual Young Leaders Conference of African and Black American men and women. This conference is scheduled for February the 12th through the 14th, 2026 in Addis Ababa. We will gather some 100 delegates to discuss African Zionism, Pan-Africanism, education, business, technology, geopolitics, music, and much more. All that IBSI has done has been made possible by our amazing donors, and we need your help to continue moving forward. Instead of a traditional end-of-year giving message, we're asking you to help us cover the cost of the Young Leaders Conference in Addis Ababa. Just go to ibsi.org/donate and mark your tax-deductible gift with YLC 2026. Or to support any area of IBSI's work, go to ibsi.org/donate and simply select General. To learn more, go to ibsi.org and join our emailing list, or email us directly at info@ibsi-now.org. Just today, from our amazing donors, they've been giving to this effort. I don't remember what the amount was. Some $30,000 just came in donations for that event that we're actually planning. Now, we still need to push forward because we need a larger budget to finish doing everything that we want to do for that event. But again, for those of you who are interested in that, if you're a young Black American out there, African that want to be a part of that, what you would need to do is email us at that address, info@ibsi-now.org. Now, this is going to be a invitation only one. This is the first year, God say the same, the year after this, you will be able to register. So there's no link that you can click on and register, that type of thing, because we are hand selecting different young leaders, some from Ghana, some from Ethiopia, some from Kenya, and then also from the United States of America. And then we're going to be started off that way. But if you want more information about it, or you are looking to possibly be a part of that group, email us at info@ibsi-now.org. What you can do, place in the subject area, YLC 2026, Young Leaders Conference, YLC 2026. And then that way our staff will see that. We'll be able to answer whatever questions you may have where that's concerned. All right. So again, whether you're on the continent of Africa or anywhere in the African diaspora, this is an African Zion type of conference, but we'll be dealing with lots of different things, entrepreneurialism and education. We'll deal with technology, including artificial intelligence, those all stuff that's way above. There'll be different speakers are going to be coming and sharing with you diplomacy about what's going on in African Zionism in terms of the biblical part. I'll be sharing on the biblical part of that and how all these other areas are touched by this biblical foundation of it. So again, February the 12th through the 14th is when it's happening. Go email us at info@ibsi-now.org for more information. All right, y'all, I got to be out because I got to finish this, and I actually got to head out of town and do another Israel thing pretty soon. Again, my son Joshua will be in Israel in a few hours doing some different things that are there. And I need to, I'm sorry, Miss Producer. I did forget those two things, two announcements. We will be, myself, Joshua, and so I'm a musician by profession. I'm a pastor and also a professional musician. I'm saying that because when we do get to do a music things, that's actually that was my life before. So anyway, we'll be doing a special concert at Valley Beth Shalom in the LA area. Shout out to our dear friend Rabbi Nolan Leibowitz, who's actually one of our colleagues with IBSI. He was actually with us in our African American Black African pastors. I'm chuckling, Pastor Matrilla, because I forget he went to the hotel. He came out a day after we got started. And he had his lanyard on. It said he's Ashkenazi Jewish man, very lighter skin and everything. He walked in and it said Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. They asked him, "What group are you with?" He said, "I'm with Institute for Black." And they looked at him. They looked at the thing and said, "What again?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm with the Institute for Black Solidarity." That's our brother from another mother. Appreciate him. We'll be at his amazing show. I went to the synagogue about a year ago, earlier this back in the spring, maybe of 2025. Amazing place. Had a chance to share. So we're doing music. There'll be a little small orchestra that's there. Some of our musicians and everything. It is an Africa to Israel theme. Give me that video real quick, Miss Producer, real quick of that one of Joshua giving that shout out.
My name is Joe Dobby, and I am so excited to announce that on February the 1st, I will be at Valley Beth Shalom for a very special event. There's going to be lots of music. There's going to be incredible speaking. There's going to be fellowship and camaraderie. I'm so excited. Don't miss it. February 1st, I hope to see you there.
So that's up on not on our website, but it is on our social media. So you can scan that QR code on that flyer there. You go also vbs.org/concert and join us out there. I believe we're going to see Dr. Sheila. I'm sorry. I'm doing it. My brain is fried. I'm so sorry. Dr. Pat Bailey. I'm sorry. Dr. Pat Bailey. Shout out to Dr. Pat. Love you, ma'am. She's out there in the area. Looking forward to seeing her there at Valley Beth Shalom with some of our other friends out there, some of the Black pastors and leaders. This is going to be an amazing time. We're looking forward to it. February the 1st, Sunday, February the 1st. So they're going to be there. And I think one last thing, Miss Producer, because that was one thing. And then also Joshua, our son, he's the executive director. One of the reasons why Joshua is going to be in Israel for the next few days, our dear daughter-in-law, Joshua's wife, who passed away now just a little over a year ago. She was buried in the Holy Land in Haifa and Tel Regev Cemetery. They have a special headstone that was ordered for her, and they are dedicating it. They're placing it this week. So he'll be there in Israel doing just that. And I think I saw a message. Did I get a message? Did I miss something? I may have missed a message. I'm sorry if I missed the message. I'm way over time, and I don't see it on there. I'm missing it there. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so yeah. So that's what Joshua's going to be doing. And he also has a new song that had come out. How much do we find out more? Okay, it's it. I think I saw that. Yeah. So I want to Miss Producer, he had something on one of those about his, it was a graphic, I think it was, the end of time. It's a very, very, so again, he was part of our music. We had a music school, again, a previous life, a graduate of our music school, then went on to the UOP Conservatory of Music. Joshua is an amazing writer and producer. And that is how part of his road in healing has been in writing. He's always been that way. Since he's very, very young, Joshua's been a songwriter. And so at the death of his wife, our daughter-in-law, Olga Mishwe, he had been writing and wrote songs of healing, a journey to healing. He did a mini tour, different parts of the world. And there's a specific song that he wrote called End of Time. My wife and I, we get emotional every time we hear it. So if you want to check that song out, it's an amazing, amazing song. I think the video is out as well. If there's a graphic there, Hannah, I think there was a graphic. If not, it's okay. But if you go to jodavimusic.com, Jodavi, Jodavi. If you see that graphic there you go. That is the cover of The End of Time. You can check that out. It's amazing, amazing song. There's the audio one, there's the video part of it as well, The End of Time. So again, Joshua's always been that way. Since the time he was very young, he would write songs. He's always been expressive in that way. And so he's got a lot of feedback from people who themselves grieving, some grieving loved ones, some young lady's brother, another person's spouse. And so him doing that externally and sharing that musically has been a real blessing to many other people. And so we always appreciate that about our son. We couldn't imagine all that he's been going through. We've been here obviously with him, but an amazing father. He was an amazing husband. Olga was an amazing wife, amazing person. And so we miss her dearly. So I just want to let you know about that as well. Okay, so I'll close it up. It's really longer on today. Good being with you. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this next week or not. I don't think it's going to be me or Joshua, but someone will probably be in the chair leading the Israel's IBSI's forum on Israel, Africa, and Black America. Thanks for joining us, you all. Looking forward to seeing you next week if we can. And also see you in Israel pretty soon as well. Thanks, everyone. You also have a great week.